Welcome back, everyone. This is the Game One Loves Forever, the golf podcast, and we are back here for another episode. I got my guy here, Jared. Jared, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, it's great being here.
Yeah,
Thanks
you
for having me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we were introduced by Chuck, the owner here at G.O.L.F. So just kind of real quick, just before we get really into it, kind of give a background on yourself and what you do with WRG and.
Yeah.
A loaded question, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I grew up in Ohio.
Okay.
Started playing golf when I was like 10. I tell people that I played all the other sports and everything. One day I was playing baseball and I just cranked one to left field and the left fielder moved in. And I was like, I don't think baseball is going to be my sport.
Yeah.
So got into golf. I was a tiny little kid, grew up there, played in high school, wanted to go D1, be a professional golfer, right? And went and walked on at University of Cincinnati, and then ended up not making the team, transferred up to Ohio State, was going to be an engineer, all of these things, right? Yeah. Every job I ever had was in the golf business. Hate to admit to my parents that always say you have to do what you love.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be an engineer. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'll make all this money so then I can go play golf.
Then you can go play golf. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah. Long story short, transferred into professional golf management, and then graduated from Ohio State. My internship director hooked me up with a bunch of different places. Always wanted to move to California. Will Robbins Golf came across. Called him up. We hit it off.
Nice.
It started as an internship. That was in 2012. He said, yeah, come out here. We'll see if we like you and you like it. And that was 13 years ago.
Wow, so, nice. So, and they were doing that at Empire?
At Empire Ranch.
Yeah.
Yep. So
okay.
Will's been coaching. Will Robbins Golf has been around for almost 20 years now. Started with just a couple summer camps. There's no junior program at the time. Mm-hmm. Will's story is pretty crazy. Then it just kind of evolved to what it is now. So, now we're at multiple locations, coaching not just juniors, but adults as well, and having a ton of fun doing it.
Nice, yeah. Is it, because, I've talked to some coaches before, and they're like, now it feels like a job. Does it feel like a job to you? Or, I guess some,
Yeah, there's going to be things
Jobs are jobs, right?
Jobs are jobs, right?
Yeah.
But, when you really get to, make an impact, I get thank yous a lot. I see the things that we're doing instead of it just being hey, I'm punching in, punching out kind of deal. Obviously, there's parts of my job that I don't like doing, payroll and those types of things, right? But when I get to be out there with players, but really see them develop, like what we were just talking with some of the people that have now started in our program at this high, now are graduating college, starting families, getting married. I'm getting invited to their weddings. Yeah. I know the whole family, and it's that's the really cool thing that, separates it, because I'm not just an employee at that point.
Yeah, you become part of the community, and that's awesome.
Yep.
And then that makes you feel good about what you're doing, right? And you're making a difference, or at least giving, young kids or even adults a path forward in golf, and then they can use that, like you said, a bunch of them are going to college, and that's awesome. I wish I would have been more focused when I played in high school, but obviously I played different, like you said, different sports, and it's not like now where I feel like all the kids are singular sport, right?
Right.
And it's that or nothing, right?
Yep.
Yeah, year round.
Yeah, and that's the one thing. Early specialization. Now there's all the studies out of just how it harms development in so many ways. And so it started with Canadian hockey and doing all this research, and then the PGA actually did. It's called American Developmental Model. So it's just showing stages of learning, stages of development for different things, and what kids should be doing at those certain ages. And we're trying to create athletes, not golfers.
Yeah.
Because if so, it's proven by people that are a lot smarter than me that these are doctors and everything else. You are going to potentially harm your child.
Wow.
They are going to get injured eventually at some point. So everyone's like, well, yes, you got to be this, or this. Yeah. You don't. Everyone has their own path. Right? We know there's such a small percentage to play on the PGA Tour, so you have a very good chance of not. So
odds are that you're not.
Yeah, you're just going to be a person. Yeah. So how about we kind of develop you to be a good person?
Yeah.
And how does golf fit in? It's a pretty cool sport to be around, and you can do it forever. Whereas some of these other ones, yes, your window to play football, baseball, whatever it may be, is much
very
shorter.
Small.
Well, yeah, but go out there and have fun playing golf for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny you say that, because we were just talking beforehand. And I always knew, or my buddy's dad told me golf's a lifetime sport. And now, my main sport was basketball, and I love to play it, and I still want to go play. But now I'm like, I don't want to get hurt for golf,
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah.
it's almost like, and with basketball, there's a high rate of injury. Like even last time I played, not last time, but when I was starting to get back into it after high school, college, when I probably shouldn't have been playing, hyperextended my knee like within the first season. So so there's those things. So I like that you said that golf is a lifetime sport, and grow with it, right?
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it doesn't need to be all right now.
well, and you can also, even for right now. So what we like to say is there's kids have potential, right? So there is, all these different tours. And so great, you could be the best 12-year-old in the world. You have potential, right? Because if that 12-year-old and me teed off from the tips together, I'm not saying that I'm great, but I would be able to be right there. So it's like, they're not great yet. They have the potential, but you got to continue fostering that development. But we also have to make sure that we're fostering them as a person.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a lot of kids that will get burnt out. Why? Because they've won every step along the way. Now they don't know how to handle adversity when all of a sudden other kids have caught up to them, or they just stopped growing, or something may happen.
Yep.
And then, okay, mentally, are they prepared for that? So there's so many good things that golf can do, even though it is an individual sport. You play it in team aspects and stuff to continue creating good people. And yes, with other sports, now at our age, we go back and play these fun things, and it's always until we get hurt.
Yes.
Like you're like, oh, how long are you going to play basketball for? Until you have a serious injury.
Yeah.
Like I played rec league softball, and I made it 6 games. I tore my hamstring and snapped my arm in half for 6 games.
Oh my gosh.
And so like,
yeah, you're telling me about the arm break. That was crazy.
so now it's kind of like, well, right, like, but if I didn't, at some point I probably would have done something.
Yes.
And you don't just ride off into the sunset. Or at least I don't.
Or even like I took the first warning of a hyperextended knee, and I mean I could still walk with no swelling and everything, but I knew I just tweaked it, and I took that as a sign like, okay, I'm gonna finish the season and I'm done.
Done. Like,
I might pick it up again with my nephews and stuff, but
it was fun for a while. It was, but now, right off into the sunset, playing golf.
yeah, I like that you said that until you get hurt, and I mean you can still get hurt with golf, right? But I think it's a higher chance that you won't, right? Or that you'll be able to continue to play.
Yeah.
Or even if you do get hurt, I know guys who now they play, they play the front tees, and you can still have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. There is aspects of it, and the one thing that we always say for people, we are going to ask kind of what their history is. Do they have any injuries or anything? Because the quickest way, this was a psychologist that came and talked to us at one of our teaching and coaching things. Quickest way to change any habit. Ask the room full of pros. Practice, right? Like, reps, get all this stuff in. I said, pain. So the introduction of pain is the quickest way to change any habit in the world. You know how you walked here. You've walked for a long time. You twist your ankle, guess what? You don't walk the same way.
Yep.
So you have to know that as a coach. If it hurts, then you are going to do something differently to keep it from hurting. If you came and I'm trying to ask you to do something but didn't know that you had a hyperextended left knee, and I'm trying to get you to why is the guy not getting on his left side? Like,
he's favoring his right,
because it hurts.
Yeah.
So what we like to try to tell people too is like there's going to be a pain point when you've hit too many golf balls. You're starting to get tired. Your body's starting to break down a little bit. Well, you just need to stop.
Yeah.
Because if not, then you're going to ingrain a bad habit probably instead of just like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Hit 50 golf balls. Well, yeah. What can we do to kind of build that tolerance up?
No, that's awesome. I like that you look at all aspects and you try to get, like you say, you try to get to the core of the person before you start teaching, right?
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Well, one of the things that we do is we'll say to like, what is your goal? And sometimes we have to play the why game. And people are like, what's the why game? And you're like, okay, well, we can kind of role play for a second. You say,
yeah.
well, I want to break
I wanna
80.
break 80, yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. Like, why?
Because then I think that I can convince myself that I'm a decent player.
Okay. And why do you want to be considered a decent player?
Because I'm very competitive.
Okay. What do you think is the thing that's keeping you from breaking 80 consistently?
Probably chipping and putting.
Okay. And so if you improved your chipping and putting, then what?
I think I could break 80 1 out of 5 rounds.
Okay. And so, like, what we're trying to do is get to the root of, like, what is going to drive you to practice. And sometimes they'll be like, people come in and, I want to fix my slice with my driver. And we're like, well, why? Well, so I lose fewer golf balls. You're like, why do you want to lose fewer golf balls? Like, well, so I'm in the fairway more. Well, why do you want to be in the fairway more? Well, so then I can hit it on the green more. You're like, well, why do you want to hit it on the green more? Because then I can make more birdies
Score,
or pars.
yeah.
Okay, but like, why do you want to make more birdies or pars? Because I want to shoot a lower score.
Yeah.
That's what really it
score,
is. So
yeah.
what they think is if I fix my driver, it will equal lower scores. And you're like, yeah, but I've watched you chip and putt.
Yeah.
And, like your 3 lost golf balls does not equate to the 15 strokes you're losing
Yeah.
around the greens.
Yep.
So sometimes it's really getting to that root of like, this is what really, and so that's what we'll say is like, if I can get you to shoot lower scores, I can get you to break 80 10 times. Are you in? Yeah, I'm in. Cool. Then
Yeah, it's like you
we're
almost
there.
convinced me to buy in right then. Yeah.
Like, let's go.
Without having to fight me. Right?
Yeah. And so we're just being able to understand who you are, what drives you, what gets you there. And some people are, it's like, no, I want to fix my driver just because I want to fix my driver.
Yep.
You're like, okay, well, we can do that. But now as a coach, I've aligned our expectations of each other instead of you were
Yes.
thinking, if I fix my driver, I'm going to shoot lower scores. And I'm like, but I fixed your driver. But I'm still shooting 84. Yeah, because you still suck at chipping and putting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't know that's what you really wanted out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, or like you said, or I want to work my driver the whole time, and you're trying to get me to work chipping and putting, so we're at odds. So I'm like, well, I don't like Jared coaching me because he just doesn't understand. Yeah. So.
And this is
I
where
like
what
that.
we really kind of dive deep into with adults and a lot of the coaching, and it's something across the board, is we're trying to align expectations because frustration comes from when expectations don't meet reality, right? When I think that this is what I should get and it's down here.
Yeah.
And it can be even for our parents and our players. Like they sign their kid up for a junior camp. We send them, this is the expectations for the parent. This is the expectations for the player.
Okay.
So that way we're all on the same page. So then we can say, okay, now if reality didn't meet, we have a problem.
Yeah.
But it's not like, again, like you said, well, I thought this was going to have me shooting 75
Yeah,
every
yeah,
time.
yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
hold on, that's not the case. So, yeah, and that's one of the biggest things that I see with a lot of players is they get so frustrated at this game of golf. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
But their expectations are so high. And sometimes it's because they just don't understand the reality of things. Like I'll ask some players and they'll get mad when they don't hit it on the green with a 7-iron. I'm like, okay, well, how often do you think a pro does? Well, like 90% of the time. And you're like, okay. So the leader on tour every year for greens and regulation is like 70%, 72%, right? So they're still missing the green a lot. Where they're hitting 7-iron from is 200 plus yards. Well, the average PGA Tour player from 200 plus yards, greens and reg, is going to be less than 50%.
Oh yeah.
So here's the best
and
in the
we're
world
pissed off that we didn't do it. Yeah.
that we didn't do it every time.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, Steph Curry, greatest shooter of all time.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
he misses it half the time.
Yeah.
But
More than
you're
that.
mad
Yeah.
so that's where it's like you're aligning these things that are just unrealistic. And so if you always are going to play golf that way, yeah, you're going to be mad a lot. So, it's for baseball, related to other sports.
Yeah.
You get out 70% of the time and you're in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I mean, that's, that's cool. You're like, you're not going anywhere in life. Like,
So
but you're, Hall of Famer in baseball. So,
it's starting to set those expectations early on, starting to actually have some players. Because what do we do? And we see it on tour. We see it on TV.
Yeah.
And these are the best of the best, right? But the other thing is we also see that half of the people aren't on TV on Saturday and Sunday because they're at home with us, and they're really, really good. And so it's like, yeah, you're seeing the miraculous shots all the time because watching golf on TV isn't sexy to watch someone tee off with a 2-iron.
Yeah.
You, like lay up
Yeah,
on a
yeah.
par 5, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, but like a lot of them do it.
Yeah.
But you want to see the guy hit the flop shot, and everyone's like, oh, like they'll come out to me,
And
I'll
that's
be
the one they'll cut to every time, right?
like, yeah, they'll be like, when are you going to teach me the flop shot? I'm like, when you can shoot 66. Like that's about it.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because when we were in high school, we were all every one of us, all 8 of us on the team, were all about flop shots and who could flop it the best and
Yeah,
who could get it to
absolutely.
sit. And it was like, how often do we hit that in an actual round? Hardly,
Ever.
if ever. Yeah.
Right. Like I pull it off like once a year maybe.
Yeah.
And then when I say pull it off, I attempt to hit it about
Yes.
once a year.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, I remember why I don't hit the flop shot very
Yeah.
often.
Yeah, I've probably hit just last year. There's probably 2 that I can remember I actually hit. Other than that, it was either bladed, you chunk it, yeah.
But then again, if you go back to what's your goal? Your goal is to break 80. You go again, Empire Ranch. That's 9 bogeys, right? You can make 8 bogeys and 10 pars. So when you're sitting there, like, okay, I can try to do this, or I can just hit a basic little pitch shot on the
Yeah.
green somewhere, 2-putt, make my bogey, and go to the next hole.
Yeah.
Like,
Like simplify, right?
yeah. Instead of like, no, this is either going to be potentially like a 1 in a million or a
Yes.
lot of doubles and triples.
Yeah.
Then you got to go make 3 pars to make up for that 1 flop shot.
Yeah. I did actually, the round we were talking about, where I shot 83, I did do that. I could have gone over the sand, try to flop it, and I was just like, you know what? I can get on the green, and let's just try to get 2-putt and get out here. And I parred it and got out.
Take your
on a par
opportunities when
5.
they
So yeah,
take your opportunities when they present themselves instead of like, yes, there's a reason why you are in that spot. It's because you didn't hit a very good shot.
Yes, yeah.
So like, okay, like
let's not compound it.
yeah. Be like, okay, I'm here in this because oh yeah, I was in the middle of the fairway and I missed the big, huge, wide target. Yeah, let's probably not try to pull the 1 in a million shot. Right
Yeah,
now.
exactly. So, so that brings me to our first kind of topic. Why do you think people are adults? I guess in this one, adults. Why do you think everyone kind of just sucks at golf?
I do think, honestly, yeah. No, I mean,
know?
it's a great one because I think, again,
Even I think I'm pretty good, but if you actually look at the score, 13 over, 14 over, you're not,
Right.
You still, in theory, suck at golf because you're not shooting par.
what I would say is I see it's more of a tension problem than a technique problem. Okay, and the example that I'll give you is I go to the driving range at Empire Ranch and there's 20 people hitting balls, and you walk by and you're like, these are some good golfers, and then you go watch them tee off on the first hole and they snap hook it out of bounds. And so it's like you can go to the driving range and you just pipe it, pipe it, pipe it. You walk over, snap hook. Your technique didn't change. But mentally, you created all this pressure now because you were just playing free, right? And then all of a sudden, tension
Yeah,
creeped in,
this shot counts.
and then boom.
Yeah.
So it's like because it is also something we never practice in that type of setting. So to kind of answer your question, I think it's a tension problem because there's so many golfers, and I would say 90+% of them have no idea how to practice. They just say, well, I'm supposed to go like hit balls on the driving range and just ingrain whatever this is. And usually what happens is they'll just rake another golf ball, make a swing. Terrible. Make another one. Terrible.
Yeah.
Make another one. Great. What was different? No idea.
Don't know. Yeah.
So it's like they don't know how to practice. They don't know how to practice, the right drills or doing any tests. I mean, when was the last time you went out there and actually like put golf balls down around a hole and like counted out of 10 how many you made from 4 feet?
Not since high school.
Okay. And so like that's kind of
Yeah.
you never actually practice under like the lights and
Yeah.
the cameras on
Yeah.
until you go step up on the first tee. And you just think that all of a sudden it's going to be better.
Yeah. Well, that's why, for me personally, exactly that. I was like, I wanted to see how I'd react. So I started like doing like amateur tournaments or just tournaments in general, because like you said, I think that changes your mindset. So now when I play with my buddies, it's way different.
Yeah.
I'm way more relaxed. Every shot, like my wife's like, aren't you always nervous to like tee off in front of everybody? I'm like, no, because I've been in competition in high school, and it kind of took me back to that, where now that I've done that kind of competition, one, it shows me where I really am because you have to take every stroke, and then two, it just helps with that stress level.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's what we always do with all of our practices is we do it in a group setting because we're doing competitions. They're going to be on a team, and me and you have to go out there and make 10 in a row from 4 feet. Gets pretty nerve wracking when you get to 8, 9, and 10. So if you have to feel that pressure during a practice setting, or else you're never going to actually understand what happens.
Yeah.
And just sit there and say, well, don't be nervous. Okay. Jordan Speed talks about how playing in the Ryder Cup, like on the first tee box, he couldn't feel his hands. Like Jack Nicklaus talks about how nervous he always was. It's just he knew how to handle those nerves and what to expect.
Yeah.
So practice that way. Like do some drills and then see if I test, okay, you made 7 out of 10 from 4 feet. Great. Do some drills to clean up some of the other stuff. Go back and test again. And then your goal is like, well, yeah, get to 8. Feel what it's like to be nervous. And then what it does is it allows you to build confidence. So confidence, we had a mental coach that he came out and he said, confidence is BS. He says you have to show your players that they have competence, which means, okay, I believe I can fly a plane. You want to get in a plane with me right now?
No.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but our players are sitting there like, I believe I can hit my driver into this nice narrow fairway. And you're like, what would make you believe that?
Yeah.
Because
Just
more often than not, you slice it.
yeah.
And you're like, so you have to show them like, this is really what you could do. And then now the power of positive thinking under this. But when you're sitting there trying to like fly a plane, which is like hitting a fairway, you're like, dude, you got no chance.
Just envision it.
Yeah. Okay, great. I'm just going to go ahead and get another golf ball ready to hand to you.
Yeah, that's good insight. And I mean, me personally, I would say I don't know how to practice. I don't know how to, but in a weird way, I kind of found, like what you said, like getting those putts and starting to get more comfortable with those, 10-foot birdie putts or 5-foot birdie putts, where before when I was like, oh, I need this one, like, because I don't know this is only my only chance for a birdie for the day.
Yeah.
And the more you have the repetition, now it's like, oh, 5-foot birdie putt, this is in, or if it's if it's a good putt, but
Because you've shown yourself that you can do it.
yeah,
Which then now is like, why would you think differently?
yeah,
Right? Because it's like, well, you make it 90% of the time. So like a bad thought creeping in is like, well, why would I allow that to creep in? So then you start to dive deep into those things. But it's also where, it's really hard because golf is one of the few sports where you practice, most of the time you practice on something that's completely different than what the court or the field that you play on.
Yeah.
You're going to go hit off dead flat mats. Not a single one, except 18 times, are you going to hit off a dead flat piece of whatever. And, it's kind of like if I don't know how to ski, never been skiing in my life. I'll just like walk up there and just like, I'm just going to go kind of like
go down,
stand on this flat ground on skis. Like, do that over and over again. You're like, I feel like now I can go down a black diamond.
Yeah. Then don't on the slaloms. Yeah.
Right. It's like, that's not quite how it works.
That makes sense. Yeah. And so I think if I did that, I would be, because putting is one of my, up and down, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But I think starting to get that confidence and, do that consistently. And that's actually one of my other resolutions on top of that is actually practice putting.
Yeah.
Just practice in general. Because honestly, I just go out and play.
Absolutely.
And I'm no longer, because I'm like, we're just playing for fun. I'm not going to shoot par. So there's no need for me to show up an hour before, warm up. Maybe I'll definitely putt, test the greens, but beyond that, and just playing.
And that's what, again, it's not just quantity of just like, hey, you went out there and practiced, but like, what did you actually practice? Because normally we'll see again, you just drop 3 golf balls down on the green and you putt one and you roll it 5 feet by. You leave the next one short and you hit the next one to 3 inches and you're like, I'm good. And then you go out there to the first hole and you like putt it 5 feet by and you're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, because that's kind of what you really were doing.
Yeah.
So like put yourself into what we do is like one golf ball. Like unless you're doing a drill, you got to do a test. And the better you get, the less drills you're going to do the more testing you're going to do. You're going to be out there and simulating practice a lot. Like, again, like, you know, there's college basketball on. They're not sitting there working on drills all the time. What are they doing? Scrimmages and all this stuff. Like,
in the plays and
yeah, that makes sense. Oh, but yeah, let's just not do that for golf.
yeah.
Like, let's just do the complete opposite. Let's go and ingrain right elbow and get a little more flexion in my wrist. Okay.
And is it? I'm sure you've seen it a lot. Is it a weird phenomenon that we all think that we are better than we are?
Absolutely.
You know?
Oh, absolutely.
Even me saying like, you know, I told you I was like, I shot 83. I'm like, oh, I'm close to breaking.
Yeah.
Am I?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's
What, or was I?
we have this kind of belief in ourselves, and it can go both ways. Sometimes it's hard, you know, for some people to not to be so negative and your own kind of worst critic, right? Because sometimes you get so mad at yourself, and you're like, dude, you would not say that to me. And if so, we probably wouldn't play golf together.
Yeah.
But it's kind of these things of like, you're going to be your harshest critic, but then there is this just delusion of, again, like I had a lady that she got so mad because she missed the green with a hybrid. And I'm like, I won't say her name. I'm like, how often do you think a pro hits the green? 90% of the time. I'm like, a hybrid, they hit it 250. We're like 1 in 5.
Yeah.
No. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, quit comparing yourself because your driver goes 150 yards. Theirs goes a lot farther. So, like, you can't just be like, well, 100 yards away. Yeah, but, like, again, it's delusional. And we don't understand that. And then we just think we're so close. Because you do hit the one shot. And you're like, well, yeah, I should hit what I always say. Every adult male hits a 7-iron 150 yards. And I'm like, 90% of them have no chance.
Yeah.
And so they stand up there, and you're just like, yeah, front bunker. Can't wait for it. Oh, yeah. Oh, hit it in the front bunker. You're like, yeah, I know. I know you can hit it one time.
Yeah.
But the other 9 times, you hit it 135.
Yeah. Or exactly. You come on the simulator and you hit 10 7-irons, and one of them went 170. So now you think you can hit 170.
Right.
Even though probably the trajectory was off, or, you know, it wasn't the shot you're going to hit every time.
You can hit driver. Everyone's hit driver straight before.
Yep.
But it's like, what is your end goal? Your end goal is to break 80. Well, let's design this is how you can break 80. And it might mean that you hit driver 5 times if it's not one of your better clubs. Pull it out at the right time, hit irons off of other tees, work on just chipping and putting. And I'm not even saying you have to be great.
Yeah.
Like, chipping on the green and 2-putt a lot. That's cool.
Yeah. Now, do you have any, like, do you have any, like, discretion of tee boxes? So, meaning, like, I like, at Empire, I like to play the greens. I think it's I like combos. You know, I'm also trying to have fun out there.
Yeah.
So, let's say if I did break 80, the 10 times from the greens, is that any less or more in your opinion?
I mean, this is one we could talk about for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things of, you know, it should be. I wish, like, even the handicap system was based on how far you hit it, right? Because me going out there, club head speed 110 plus, right, and shooting even par from the blue tees at Empire Ranch, which I think the rating is 71 as well, right? So that's like scratch, right? Compared to a guy that hits it swing speed of 90. And it's like he's hitting driver, 3-wood in almost every green, shoots 71. Cool. Like, he's a 0 and I'm a 0. It's like, okay, like, this is kind of a little different, like, because it's a lot harder for him. Right, we just said the stats of him, people hitting fairway woods compared to, like, cool, I hit driver 9-iron in a lot out there. So, like, that's kind of one thing where it does go down, like, different tee boxes. They tried years ago with the play it forward, tee it forward kind of thing. It's, what are you trying to get out of it? Like, you know, play from where you have fun.
Yeah.
You know, it is a lot nicer. If you want to play like they play on tour, they're hitting less than 7-iron in a lot. It's because they hit it 325 yards, right?
They bomb it,
So that's why they have 450 yards. But they're hitting then driver
still
9-iron.
hitting. Yeah,
right?
they're still hitting. Yeah.
So get to where you could start to have driver 9-iron in a lot. Now, what we see, and so we'll do for our players is, you know, especially ones that'll be like, if I hit it 25 yards farther, you get me to hit it 25 yards farther, that'll get me to what we talked about. That'll get me to shoot my lower scores.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. How about 50 yards?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. I'm like, sweet. Hop in. Let's go. And we drive right past the white tees. We drive right up to the red tees. We tee off from there. And we say, here you go. I gave you 50 yards on every hole. Now, you can't now hit hybrid. You have to hit driver because now if things start to get more narrow and all this stuff, what do you think they normally shoot?
Probably the same.
The same. Why? Because their wedges suck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, cool. You hit a pitching wedge as close as you hit a 7-iron.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
you could gain 50 yards. Now, in order to gain 50 yards, that's 20 miles an hour club head speed. So, we got to go through this workout program, do this every single day. Or how about we just figure out, like, a different way to go and chip and putt a little bit better, those types of things. So, it's starting to align that stuff. But back to the original question with, tee boxes. Again, for me, if I went out there and had to hit driver, hybrid, 3-wood in, playing a 7,800 yard golf course, it's not fun.
It's not fun, yeah.
Right? I'm gonna struggle to break 80. And you're like, great. That was just a kick in the teeth. Like, that's why, sometimes it is. It's like,
You're like, oh, cool, you still can't make the tour.
Right, yeah. I mean, I went and played TPC Harding Park the Thursday after the PGA Championship. And I played, and the rough was still long, the fairways were in, and I played pretty good golf. It didn't hit hardly any fairways, and I shot 77. That was 4 days after Morikawa shot 63 to win a major.
Yeah.
So I was like, if he
And they're
gave
playing
me a
tips.
shot a hole, I barely would have won.
Yeah.
So that shows like a PGA coach. I am as close to a PGA Tour player as I am a bogey golfer. And it's like,
Yeah.
so it's
It's crazy to think about that way, huh?
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
geez.
And this was like, even some of them, we couldn't even tee off from all the way back where they were playing from. And you're just like, yeah. And I wasn't getting to that patch of divots in the fairway.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Were they-
oh,
yeah.
that's still another
so
30
they're
by
still
me.
up there,
and
yeah.
they teed off from 20 behind me. I'm like, oh, this is great. This is great.
That's
But
funny. And the thing too is, a lot of the guys I play with, or just I don't want to put any of them, like some of them should not play blues, and I always feel like whenever you're in a group of 4, whatever you decide to play, usually everybody plays that same one, right? It's not, we haven't normalized where I'll play blues and then you guys, because then like ego gets into it, right?
Absolutely,
And it's
it's all
like,
ego.
and they're like, well, I'm not gonna play whites if you're playing blues, and it's like, and so I'm like, okay, well, I'll play whites or whatever. I don't really mind.
when you go and play pickup basketball, like, are you using the NBA 3-point line?
Well, whatever's there, it's probably high school. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. High school,
But all of a
college.
sudden you're
yeah.
like, oh, yeah, let me go head back here. And you're like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah. Still 3 points.
Right? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It is a lot of ego. It is a lot of these things of like, just this is how it's always been kind of deal. So it's just starting to just kind of, hey, let's go enjoy this.
Yeah.
Why do you think pickleball is such a sensation?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it's like, I don't have to run
Yeah.
as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I like this a lot
So
more.
competition.
Right? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't have to like run all over the place. With my wife and I, we started to play tennis when we lived in our old house, and we were hitting it back and forth. And I'd hit it to her, and she would hit it somewhere over wherever. And so I'm like, hey, how about? She's like, I don't want you to coach me. I just want to hit it back and forth. And I was like, yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
I didn't quite like that response. I was like, I'm doing a lot of hitting to you and then chasing it. So now it's like, okay, now we go pickleball. I'm like, hey,
There we go.
we could do something like that.
I still haven't ventured to pickleball. I've been invited a few times, but I'm just like, I don't need another hobby to get.
I've never
fully
done it either.
vested-
I only
fully
make one of.
invested in,
All I do is I make fun of the one high school kid who would come out on Saturday mornings and talk about pickleball
Oh.
and everything. Like and
During
I'm
the
like,
golf?
I'm like, this is supposed to be for
school?
old people.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You are this jacked 18-year-old dude. All
And he's probably
juiced
just
about-
smashing all in
Oh,
all.
just picking on good old Susie over there on the other side of the pickleball court.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, that's, it's once you find your niche or something you love, like we all love golf, and you just run with it.
Yeah.
And that another thing too, you most likely won't get injured, so it could be a lifetime sport, right?
Hopefully.
And I think those excel with the general public. Yeah. So, especially if you played some kind of sport, any kind of competition, whether it be like gymnastics, whether it be, you know, anything. I think people just want that feeling again.
And
So
golf is a sport you're never going to like really win. Like you're always going to be searching for the next thing.
Yeah.
Like the golf course is always going to win.
Yep. Oh, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so it's a new challenge, but it's about going out there and really enjoying the experience with your buddies and at new places and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a beautiful, just beautiful scenery and beautiful getting out, you know.
Yeah,
So,
since I had my son, you know, I didn't play as much because I'm like, hey, I'd rather be home with him. So now it's like I play with people that I like at cool places.
Yeah.
And then since
Make it
my
worth it,
injury,
right? Yeah.
I'm like it hurts, and so now I'm like even less of like, yeah, you know, if I'm not going to go out there and just play another 9 holes to play another 9 holes because I'd rather be home hanging out with them.
Yeah.
Or hey, yeah, let's go play a really cool golf course. Gets my juices flowing. Gets me maybe I might practice before, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah, now I hit a bad shot. I'm like, oh, so what? Like made double bogey at Bay Hill.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm walking around
Yeah,
Bay Hill.
I'm in
having
Bay
an
Hill, exactly.
Arnold Palmer afterwards. Like, yeah, this is cool.
yeah, that's, I just played Poppy Hills a couple weeks ago, and same thing. I was just like, you know, had a few, I doubled the first hole, and I'm like, there's a lot of golf left, and 2, I'm Poppy Hills right now.
Yeah.
Like, enjoy it.
Right,
like,
exactly.
You know, and then I birdie the next hole. So see,
Like, you just got to bring
Yeah.
yourself back to that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I could get really mad at this and ruin the next 4 hours of my life, or I could just be like, yeah, oh well, like, okay, it's a double bogey, whatever. Move on to the
Yeah.
next. Take a look at the ocean.
yeah, because I could have easily been like, oh well, I'm definitely not breaking 80 now, or you know, or I'm not even going to break 90. You know, keep already with a double.
And
so.
those are the things that like you set the expectation of I have to do X, Y, and Z
Yeah.
in order to break 80. And now you put so much pressure on a shot. Well, you're probably not going to perform very well.
Yeah.
And then you make a double bogey and you're like, well, now I got to make
Yeah.
like
Now you gotta
dude,
catch up,
why?
yeah.
Just go out there and play golf.
Yeah. And that's what I did too. Right after, I was just like, okay, hit the next one, and then like you said, like maybe I was close because I bladed a couple things, but so I hit it up in the green, it was par 3, and it was like a 50-foot putt, and I hit it. So it's like, odds are if I had that again, would I hit it? No.
Not even
So
close.
it's a par, right? You know,
Absolutely.
maybe a bogey even. You know?
Yeah.
But so you're right. It's like, okay, there you saved one there, like
Right.
one that you're gonna hit 1 out of 10 times. Maybe even more.
Yeah,
1
absolutely.
out of 20.
And so we always kind of just put that back in. And so a lot of times, especially maybe with, you know, some high school boys, you know, there's a lot of kind of ego and stuff going on. And so they always think that they can hit the perfect golf shot all the time and they'll start to get negative. And one of the things I like to kind of tell them is, you know, you have to get equally happy when you hit a good shot for as mad as you're getting for a poor shot.
Yeah.
When it's like not really that poor of a shot.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
It's like on
'Cause
the fringe.
They hit a
almost,
good
yeah.
shot and they're just like, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. And you're like, okay, so then basically you're always just feeling this like
I see,
negative,
yeah.
negative. And it's like, yeah, that's a really tough way. I know that because that's how I was as a high school player. I mean, I'd get mad at hitting it to 15 feet because now I'm like, well, now I'm not going to guarantee
yeah.
to make birdie. And if I don't make birdie, then I won't shoot 4 under par. And if I don't shoot 4 under par, then I won't, you know, have this college look at me, which means that then I won't get here, which then means I won't.
Yeah,
You're
it's like, geez.
dude, it's a 9-iron
shot.
at, you know, Foxfire Golf Club in middle of nowhere, Ohio. Like, geez, that was a lot
like-
of pressure. And you're like, yeah, that's why. Like in my golf journey, I had broken 70 like 2 or 3 times in my life, and then everything happened. I took time off from golf after like going to college and stuff, and I went back that next summer. Now I've removed all of this. I have to do all of these things, and just got back out there and played with my retired firefighter old guys.
Yeah.
And I shot in the 60s like 20 sometimes that summer. Just
Hey.
$2 Nassaus, man. I was just cleaning house, winning 3 or 4 ways, winning $8 at a time. And it's just
Nice.
like, why? Well, because like I got to just play
was the
golf.
difference? Yeah.
And just have fun
Yeah.
and just be like, this is relaxed instead of every shot had so much like pressure and implications of this is the rest of my life. And now I'm like, thank God, because now here I am enjoying life here in California.
Yep.
And you know everything happens
Doing
for a
it for a
reason.
living. Yeah. And
So,
so one of the other things too is, you know, and I'm glad you kind of brought this up. How do you make it fun for beginners? Because it is so frustrating. You know, I've had buddies or even my wife will, you know, will take a few swings, miss the ball a few times, like, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know. So how do we make it fun?
Yeah, so I think it's again finding ways to get them on the golf course and experience golf for what golf really is. That's the game, the golf course,
Okay.
right? Instead of like you have to be good enough before you get to. Even again, if we go back to skiing, it's like, well, I'm going to be on the bunny hill, but I'm still like on the hill.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of like too often, we say it even for our juniors, for any beginner level. You know, it's not go to practice, go to practice, go to practice, and then you'll be able to play a game. You wouldn't sign your kid up for, you know, soccer if it was like, yeah, you got to do 6 months of practice before they ever even like play a game. Like, well, no, he would hate it. You're like, yeah, okay. So we get them on the golf course early on. We have them tee off from 100 yards. Tee it up, hit it from 100 yards. Then that way, again, you're actually getting down there somewhat by the green, chip it on, couple putts. And the goal for us is, you know, we have like a hat system. So the goal is to shoot 39 or less. Like you break 40, you move back.
Oh.
You shoot 39 or less, you move back.
Yeah.
Tiger's dad did it to him,
Yeah,
everything, right? So that's how you can kind of get out there and experience it, because now, too, especially for even like ladies, beginners, take them out. Where do they tee off? The red tees. Great. So they're going to hit a drive. They're going to hit a three-wood or hybrid. They're going to hit 6 or 7 shots. And then they're like, not even to the green yet.
Yeah.
So what do? Pick it up, get in the cart. They're like, I don't want to hold anyone up.
Yeah.
You're like, well, that would be, again, like us playing a 2,000-yard hole and saying it's a par 4. Like, well, it's not fun.
Yeah.
Like, get them to be like, cool, we'll just tee it up at 100 yards. You're not going to slow anybody down. You can hit a shot down there, chunk and roll it down there, pitch it up on the green, couple putts. Hey, you're right there.
Yep.
And then it's like you get to experience golf. Even for our kids that do that, we host little tournaments. They play from 100 yards, play 9 holes, get to ride in a golf cart with mom or dad, and at the end of it, eat a hot dog or a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
They're like, I want to
This
do
is
that
awesome.
again.
Yeah, exactly.
They make double par. We're like, we haven't pick up after 8. And you're like, yeah, I don't care. They got to experience golf instead of like, yeah, just go to the driving range until you do this, this, or this.
It makes sense because that's how I was taught. Like until you got comfortable or could hit a certain, you know, distance, or just maybe you weren't shanking it every time, you could finally get on the course with when I was younger, I did play a few times with my dad, but you know, then really got into in high school. But and then with my wife too, she's like, well, I want to get comfortable before I go on the course. So I like that idea. Maybe I'll just say like, and I did tell her too. I was like, well, maybe we'll just drop in the fairway. Like, don't even tee off.
Yeah.
And just come with me in the fairway wherever I am, and just hit from there.
If she's comfortable with putting, just be like, come, just drop it on the edge of the green every time. And we'll go up there and we'll putt and see how many 2s and 3s you can make. Let's go have some fun and go chat and enjoy being outside. And then like, oh, cool, now let's bring like a wedge or something. And like, hey, let's chip it on and see how many 3s or 4s we can make. And then just keep gradually moving back.
Yeah,
and
I like
then,
that.
Hey, go ahead and just hit driver. Don't care.
Yeah.
Hit driver, pick it up. We're always going to go down there. But that way they're also understanding the importance of short game. Because a lot of it is topped, chunk, this, that. Pick it up before you ever putt. And you're like, you know, I have these ladies and they're like, I never really putt because I never get to the green.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, because it's kind of the most important thing.
Yeah.
So,
More than half your shots are on the green.
right? Yep.
So, okay, so I'll use that next time, because she does want to get on the course, but she's like doesn't feel comfortable. So I'm like, it's a great tool to get on. So I'm gonna use that next time.
And then reward her with something, a glass of wine or something. Like my son, he's 3. He wants to go. He's like, Dad, let's go to the golf course. And we go over to the golf course, and they have a practice hole, and there's a bunker. So he rolls around in the bunker, gets all covered in sand. We throw some golf balls out, and we eat a cookie afterwards.
There you go.
You know, he says tomorrow, Dad, let's go to the golf course.
Yeah.
And then we hit a few shots.
Yeah.
And then now every time we just add a little bit more. I want to go use, he calls it not a wedge. This is, again, I'm a golf pro, and he calls it his high putter.
Yeah.
So he's got a wedge. He's like, I want to go hit some putts, and I want to go hit my high putter, and then eat a cookie
Because it hits it
afterwards.
high, right?
Yeah, it hits it high. So that's it.
That's awesome.
But again, it's like they will then be like, that was fun. Let's do that again, instead of, oh my gosh, you just went down a black diamond.
Yeah.
Like that was a hospital visit,
Yeah.
and let's never do that
Yeah.
again.
And I already know too. It's only gonna be 9 holes to start. There's no reason to go even more.
I would even go
Or even
later.
at
Be the
Twilight. Yeah, I'd
last
say,
tee
or
time.
even a Twilight. Yeah,
Be
like
the last tee time.
6 holes maybe.
Be the last a few holes. Be like, great. let's do it, and let's go ahead and call it a night.
Yeah.
Have a glass of wine,
Yeah.
go home.
Perfect. Yeah, I love it. So you deal with a lot of juniors, a lot of parents. What would you say is like the best thing they can do, and then the worst they can do? Either putting them in a like, what's the worst thing and best thing they can do for them, for their kids?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I see a lot is I've been doing this for 13 years here at WR Golf, and I've been around a lot of junior golfers, and I've yet to meet any parent that is intentionally harming their child or the development of their child. But what they are doing is unintentionally harming their child. And a big thing would be early specialization, right? And this, again, the development of them as athletes. Golf is a very kind of different sport. So if they're not playing soccer, running, again, doing all this strength training, so trying to specialize in golf too early on, can it's either going to lead to burnout or injury. Like that's kind of one of those two paths. So that would be the worst thing is they start to see a little early success, winning a couple local tours, and you're like, great. And it's like, yeah, but then like, what are they going to be when they're 14? What are they, are they already hurt, or now they're not able to handle the adversity that comes with, oh my gosh, now you don't win?
Yeah.
So like early specialization is very, very hard if you're a parent. The other thing that I would say is, well, I want the parents to be parents. And so we kind of want to talk about this circle. It's like, I want you to be mom or dad. I'm the coach. Like, I'm going to have a communication with your son or daughter, and then we're going to have a conversation, and then you get to have this. So instead of kind of like blending all of that together, it's like, I want you to be able to, after a round, like, put your arm around them, tell them you love them, and like you're proud of them for how they handled themselves, instead of like, why did you
work on this?
Oh my gosh, why did you hit driver on that hole? What
Yeah.
happened there? You shot 39, and you're like, be your mom or dad, like support them in that way, and have a ton of fun doing it. And if they stop having fun, be okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, let them take a break. Like, we are in, and that's what I see different out here than in Ohio. And you talked about it, like, for your journey. Like, in Ohio, you just can't play golf in the winter because it's actually winter. So you had to play a different sport. But out here, you could play golf. And now, again, with simulators, you can specialize in it. So what we really kind of try to do is not crown them too early and say, hey, they have potential. They could be great if they keep going down this path, but let's make sure that we are still like, they're enjoying that process as well. And it's not just for the parent to kind of be like, my son is the best.
Everyone wants their next kid to be the next Tiger, right? Or the Tiger method, where that's all he did, right? Yeah.
Well, but also it's like, again, the parent, sometimes they don't know. And so what they see when they do a quick whatever is like, oh my gosh, I'm going to sign them up for every single tournament, and I'm going to do this, this, or this. And it's like, okay, like let's kind of talk to this. So talk to some experts that are going through it and kind of go, instead of just like, I've Googled this and I think that I should sign them up.
And these young kids, are they playing 18 holes?
Some of them will get to like when you get deeper in things, but normally there's a lot of like, for less than 10, it's going to be 9. And so now there's a lot of U.S. or different tours in the U.S. that kind of go based on different yardages for different age levels and stuff like that. So they kind of like structure it that way. So a lot more into this development of kids instead of like, you're at this age, because that's the other thing, for us is, you don't want to just be like, you're 13 years old and you decide to play golf. Well, for most tournaments and stuff, 13 years old means you're playing the white tees. Like, well, no, but I just learned how to hold the club right. But come up here, play from 100 yards. You might be playing. We have kids that and we have 5-year-olds that are shooting 30-something, and they move back. And so you're like, that's where then it's like, no, like you're on your own journey.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it would build better confidence, because I wish I would have learned green back, and I learned tee forward, tee to green. Where all I was worried about was tee, driver, driver, driver. And like you said, even to now, it's ingrained that in me, where I don't worry about chipping and putting because I just need to get off the tee. And it's still still fighting that today.
Chicks
So-
dig the long
so,
ball, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, it just comes
I
down
mean, it looks
to
cool.
It
Yeah.
looks cool.
People
It
are
looks
impressed
cool.
with it.
That's
Yeah.
right. And then it's like, oh, yeah, but it's also cool, like,
Yeah.
to sign a scorecard that says, like, oh, yeah, that's 72.
Yeah. Or my coach used to, when I'd hit like a really good drive, and then he'd come past me and drive past me in the car and say, "Don't fuck it up."
Yep, absolutely.
I'm like, what? Oh, great. And then, you chunk it, or you hit a good shot or whatever, but it made you think,
Yeah.
so
I mean, and it gets into that. So it's, again, like, how we learn. So what can we do to kind of, again, help the younger generation understand, like, okay, golf is fun. It can be fun. Let's help you in this process as we're making you, like, a good person that knows how to play golf.
yeah. And so if you could go back, or you could tell your younger self or one thing about golf or your golf journey, what would you kind of give yourself advice about?
Whew, boy, it would be that mental side of, again, I was angry. Yeah, I don't know how many clubs that my dad probably still has in his garage that are about this long, because they got shortened in many ways. You know, so I was that angry golfer, and again, I was that angry golfer because I didn't quite have the knowledge and in that time to understand, like, what it took to be on tour. And so just understanding, like, well, yeah, but I could be really good, and that's okay as well. So enjoy the process. And once I started to get away from that, like, once I took that time off, oh man, golf was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I got out of my own way. So it would be to kind of, it sounds cliche, but go back and enjoy those moments, because I am in the golf business, and I sit there and look back at my high school golf time, like, playing on the team, and those are some of the best experiences. Do I know what I shot every single one of those rounds? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I know a few of them.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of because
The
I have
memorable
to,
ones,
right?
yeah.
But it's like the best times were being had with my buddies in the car ride. So it's like, just live in that
Enjoy,
moment a little bit
for
more
sure.
than, like, worried on if I set a course record or not.
Yeah. I mean, during my high school experience, I was just trying to break my freshman year, I was just trying to break 50.
Yeah.
So, going from that, and then by the end of it, I was shooting in the 30s. We played 9 holes, in the 30s, pretty, at least 39 pretty regularly, and just to see that transition of, like, just how far you kind of came in 4 years.
Yeah, we did it
So-
a lot. So, like, I mean, I kind of knew I practiced differently because my brother and I we were very, very competitive. And one of the things is we always just played. Like, even my buddies and I, like,
Yeah.
we didn't practice.
Yeah.
But we would get dropped off and we would just play golf. I mean,
Yeah,
36.
yep.
I just walk and just play golf, and we were always competing against each other. So we were practicing things on the golf course, but it was always kind of, again, at that heightened state.
Yeah.
All that pressure is on because we're playing for $1 or $2 or whatever it may be, or, again, just me and my brother just, like, wanting to beat each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that was kind of like how we practice in those settings. So that would be one thing, but it's like, hey, let's just enjoy this time. I would give anything to go back and just, have those rounds of just me and the boys just walking down the fairway and being like, wow, we're 16
there's nothing
years
better,
old.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I too, with a couple of my buddies who were on the golf team, we get dropped off at Mather at the butt crack of dawn.
Yeah.
Play 36 holes, and then one of our parents would come pick us up at the end, and we would do that every Saturday morning, or Saturday, because it was all day long.
And the friendships that have been built. I mean, I moved across the country, and those are still my boys.
Yep.
We don't talk every day, but every time I go back there, I mean, they show up. They're there. They're my guys. We've had so many memories together, and it was like, that was through golf. And it's just like, we just pick it up, and we're just like, yeah, we're here for each other, like, forever. And so it's like, wow, like, in the moment, didn't really know that, but now, like, as an old dude, you look back and you're like, man, like, just enjoy that experience. And I think I would have played a lot better golf because I did have such a kind of a temper at that time that I couldn't get out of my own way if I made a bad one swing. And I was like, even if it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, great, why didn't I make
Totally,
birdie there? And you're like, dude, just chill out.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I think I sometimes almost had the opposite effect where I was too nonchalant. I'm like, where this is a par putt, and I'm just like, oh yeah, oh no bogey, okay, oh well,
Yeah.
And it was like, no, if I would have focused a little bit more, whether good or bad, I probably would have made that putt. But I was just like, yeah. I was like, oh well.
But in the whole scheme of things, it's like
but
you're never going to look
it-
back and be like, oh man, I missed that putt to do
Exactly.
whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
and so it is. I mean, you get to have some of the talks of like, man, when I went out there and shot this score and I did this. And I mean, I tell the story of my first high school golf match. I'd been playing great, shooting in the 70s, doing whatever. And my first high school golf match, I was playing in tournaments. I felt so much pressure not to let my buddies down. I shot 50. Like, I hadn't shot 50 in years.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I tell this to all of our high school kids. And it's like, oh, yeah, great. You're shooting in the 30s. And they go out the first day of tryouts. And it's like, Coach, my swings broke. I shot 46. And you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, I know. Like, I made a 10.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, great. Like, I averaged that year. I averaged 39. And that's counting a 50 in my
Yeah.
first ever high school golf match because I built it up. There was no way that I could, like, get out of my own way.
Yeah, no, yeah. Until you feel it, until you get in that. I mean, I remember my first tee shot in high school in a tournament, and I don't even think I think I probably blacked out because I was so nervous, and you're like, and everyone's watching, and I think even then I was like number 3 or 4, so I was in the second group to go off. So you still had a gallery watching, so had all the coaches watching, which I shouldn't have been there, but I just, I think most of the guys from last year's team had moved on, so all the freshmen ended up playing.
Yep.
So I had no business being there, but but it was a great experience.
But it's
so.
also, again, it was a completely different experience because it's not just, well, you go out there and play bad, you play bad, you let yourself down, right? It's like, no. Like, they're expecting me. I am the second best player on the team.
Yeah.
They are expecting me to shoot this score.
Yeah.
And
You're supposed to carry,
uh-oh. And now you're like, okay, I think I just made a 10. And you're like, all right, well, I guess I've got to make birdie. Oh, that's like a 7. And then that's like a double. And you're like, great, that adds up to 50. Like, yeah, that was fun. That was a fun car ride back.
Yeah. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Are you what do you call it? Taking some strokes off here and there? Yeah.
Yeah, you're just adding it up, and you're just like, wow, that was impressively bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, how did you do that?
Yeah. So the last thing, kind of give us, I know we talked a lot of good topics, and you kind of told us about how you're teaching and everything. So what is WR Golf? What do you guys do? Kind of, if let everybody know where they could find you, or just kind of give us a background for it.
Yeah, so I mean, Will Robbins Golf has been around. Again, it started almost 20 years ago. Will doing a summer camp at Empire Ranch, and then it kind of grew into another thing. And so teach a lot of juniors. So we teach a lot of camps, weekly classes. We have advanced classes. We have path to college classes. We teach adults and stuff. So we're at a couple different locations. We're now teaching here in X Golf as well.
Nice.
So we have a ton of fun. And one of the main pillars that we stand by is making champions in golf and life, right? So, if your junior wants to get into golf or whatever level they may be, is that we are going to make champions on and off the golf course. So we're instilling those core values. That's why we're a First Tee affiliate. So core values and life skills, the great things: respect, responsibility, honesty, integrity, all the great things that golf can kind of provide for these kids. And then lastly is like, we really want to just instill a love for the game.
Yeah.
Which is, having a ton of fun at whatever level they may be. Get them to be able to say, like, it's fun. Because I've yet to, be able to coach somebody, because if they're not having fun, they don't come back.
Yep.
You know how hard it is to teach somebody that's not at the golf course?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
nearly impossible.
Right? They're like, but you got to learn this, or this.
Yeah.
It's like, at some point we will, if they want to.
Yeah.
In this moment of time that we have them, we are going to have a ton of fun, and we're going to, again, teach them some life lessons along that. So that's kind of what WR Golf, how it stands apart is, it's not always just going to be swing technique and fundamentals and rules of golf. It's like, at some point they will need to know this, or this. At some point, you can't ground your club in a bunker. The kid's 5. right?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's like cool. He's hitting the seventh shot anyways, so we're not. I'm not going to penalize them at that point. So, but it's like, yes, we really are all about this making champions in golf and life being our kind of our motto, and seeing people that are now went to golf or went to college on a golf scholarship, now graduated college, getting married, you know, starting families, working for all of these, again, Fortune 500 companies and everything else. And you're like, wow,
That's what it's
golf
about.
was a part of that journey, and WR Golf was a part of that journey. And I just feel honored. I mean, I was able to, I got invited to a couple of the weddings, and I'm like, these were kids that were in our program that they come back and they coach for us.
Yeah.
And that's the most awesome feeling
that's
for
awesome.
me, because it's like, then people will be like, oh, well, Coach Maddie, what's your story?
Yeah.
Well, I started in golf here at WR Golf, and now they're like, oh, but now you're a coach here. And it's like, yeah, like all of this stuff. So it's really great to see like that we, again, I don't want to say that it wasn't us. They were great people, but we were able to be part of that journey that then got them into college. They played golf, had an amazing 4 or 5 years, and now are doing something else.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, that's just and I mean, that's got to make you feel good to go to work every day, right? And what you guys are doing, it's, you know, for the greater good. You know?
It's nice being told like, thank you, you know, and again, like I said, I feel lucky to be around these kids and these families. There's so many great people in this area. And it's just really nice to kind of be a part of that. And I mean, there's so many. I came out here, I knew nobody. And now it's like I have just a whole family and just friends and everything, where it's just like, wow, I'm really lucky.
Yeah. No, I can attest to that too. Like just golf, since I moved back, because I grew up in the Sacramento area, but I moved back, and just with golf, it's gotten me places, you know, or not places, but it's got me introduced to people that I may have never met otherwise. You know, maybe we would probably have never met without, you know, golf and the golf podcast and everything. So I just love where it takes you. And I love that aspect of it. And then I love playing it. So
yeah, everything happens for a reason. I mean, there's a reason why I didn't go to, you know, play golf in college and everything else, or I wouldn't be sitting at this table right here. So it's just, again, it's an honor to be able to kind of love the thing that I do as much as I do, and be able to impact some lives in the process.
If you went to college, you probably might have burnt yourself out. Never touched it again.
Who knows? Who knows? But I'm pretty happy with what has happened. Was it fun in some of the moments of my life? Absolutely not. But here I am, enjoying it as much as I can.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So one quick last thing I know, what's the best story or the craziest story you've had in from coaching someone or just an experience?
Oh, okay. Craziest story from coaching somebody. I've seen probably like 6 or 7 hole-in-ones. And
that's pretty cool.
One of the best ones was from a lady who was a beginner kind of golfer, and we were out there with her family. So I was giving a family lesson on the golf course. She was pretty new at it. Her husband plays quite a bit, low 80s, and they're 2 twin girls. And literally, she steps up there, 8th hole at Empire Ranch.
Oh, yeah.
Knocks it in the hole in front of the family.
That's a popular one. I hear there's a lot of hole ones.
I mean,
that's
I've
pretty
had
cool.
one in my life, and I was 14, so I'm in a little bit of a long drought. I have what we call.
I can see why you're frustrated.
Well,
you got that at 14, and
I mean, to be there when I saw that, like with them in that family, I mean, it was like we had smiles and all had the goosebumps of everything, because he had never had a hole-in-one. Their girls were, I don't know, 12 or 13 at the time, so it was such a cool experience. And that's probably one that's at the top of the list.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've never had a hole-in-one, so still looking for it. But I have seen one, and the one I have seen is Apple Mountain, hole number 2, and so elevated green. But it was an older lady, and she was from the women's tees. She hit it, shanked it off a tree, rolled down the trunk into the hole.
Love it. It's meant to be. Sometimes rather be lucky than good.
Exactly.
Right?
I was that's the craziest shot I've ever seen. And then
Uh-huh.
2 was a hole in one.
And then-
Like,
So,
and it's the only one I've ever seen.
and she doesn't have to tell everyone else
Oh, no.
how it went there.
Well,
She has a hole in one.
I would, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. It
Because
makes it a
I'd be
little
like,
better.
well, I shanked it, and then it bounced off the tree into the hole.
Yeah. So no,
Yeah.
there's so many
So-
cool things that happen. And again, I mean, there's so many experiences that
Yeah.
I've had being able to again just do things and just be around great people where it's just like, wow, I am very lucky. But some of the ones that, I mean, looking back, the hole in ones,
That's awesome.
The other cool little things with kids and just getting the biggest laugh in the
Yeah.
world. Like if you go out there, you're having a tough day or whatever, but you get to go and spend an hour with some of these kids. I mean, they are the funniest people in the world.
Yeah.
And it's just
You never know what they're going to say either.
right.
Yeah.
They will get you cracking up, and it just kind of is a nice like little break. I like to. I'm very lucky that I can kind of coach all levels because if I only coached adults, I'd probably strangle one of them.
Yeah.
You know, because it would just be again.
yeah.
I'm like
We're
trying
stuck
to
in our
help,
ways, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And but if I only coach kids, I might turn into a big kid as well.
Yeah.
So it's nice that I can kind of help go from one to the next and get that kind of nice difference. I can
Yeah.
have a real adult
Yeah.
conversation, and then I can
And
go
you
out
have
there,
fun. Yeah.
rack some jokes,
Yeah.
and make some high fives.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. I hope you had fun today.
It's a ton of fun.
It was great. I loved all your topics and loved everything. I just let you talk because that's what it's about. So
My wife says I talk too much, so
No,
thank
hey,
you for
that's-
letting me
yes,
get it
that-
all
no,
out.
that is perfect on this one. So, but thanks again for coming on, Jared.
Hey, thank
and
you.
again, so real quick, tell everyone where they can find you or Empire
So
Golf.
WRGolf.com is
Okay.
where everything is. So you can contact me directly, Jared Butts. My phone number, 916-520-6585.
Yep.
Jared at WRGolf.com. Reach out. We will definitely get you set up in any program for yourself, your junior.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'll put all your information down in
Yeah, absolutely.
the description.
Perfect.
It's like,
Yeah.
that's not my department, okay?
No, you do.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, guys. Well, if you like what we're doing, keep watching, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Peace.